Radio Manzi News in English.
You are tuned to Radio Imanzi, broadcasting from Kigali. Here is the news in English, brought to you by Fiona Umuganwa. The headlines. A meeting between the presidents of Rwanda and DRC has agreed on a roadmap that will lead to the escalation of tensions between the two neighbors. Rwanda is said to carry out a feasibility study for domestic urea production from Lake Kivu. Algeria has marked 60 years of independence from France with a huge military parade. A meeting between the presidents of Rwanda and DRC in Rwanda, Angola, mediated by President Joao Lourenço, has agreed on a roadmap that will lead to the de-escalation of tensions between the two neighbors. President Paul Kagame and his Congolese counterpart Felix Tshisekedi met in the Angolan capital this Wednesday to discuss issues that have led to the soaring of the diplomatic relations between the two neighboring countries as a result of counter-accusations. According to preliminary information from Rwanda, President Lourenço urged the two leaders to defuse the situation and embark on a gradual process of restoring trust between the two countries. Among other things, the Rwanda roadmap, which would see the reviving of the Rwanda-DRC Joint Permanent Commission, was agreed upon. The commission, which had not met for several years, will identify all the issues that need to be put on the table and convene in Rwanda on July 12th to discuss them with the aim of normalizing diplomatic relations between Kinshasa and Kigali. It is reported that the three leaders, as part of the roadmap, agreed on the immediate cessation of hostilities. It was further agreed that the DRC government deals with the M23 situation domestically, in line with the Nairobi Peace Process recommendations. At the same time, Kinshasa was tasked to address the issue of the presence of the Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda. The Rwandan flag was flying high over Westminster Abbey in central London overnight. Westminster Abbey is a royal church offering daily services for all and a World Heritage Site with over 1,000 years of history. Westminster Abbey dedicated a beautiful evensong service to the government and the people of Rwanda in celebration of Rwanda's 28th Liberation Day, Kwibohora 28. A high-level security delegation from the Republic of Ghana visited the Rwanda Defense Force Chief of Defense Staff at RDF headquarters. The delegation was headed by the National Security Coordinator in the Ministry of National Security of Republic of Ghana, Ambassador Major General Retired Francis Ado Amanfo. RDF and Ghana security delegation held bilateral talks to further deepen the existing defense and security relations. Speaking after the visit, Major General Amanfo said that their discussions focused on strengthening the security and intelligence relationship between both countries. This morning, Vice Admiral Seth Amoma and his delegation also paid tribute to the victims of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi at the Kigali Genocide Memorial and also visited the Campaign Against Genocide Museum. Plan International Rwanda has said that in order to combat gender-based violence, they will focus on advocating for girls' rights. Manzi Prince with this report.
Plan International is a girls' rights organization that focuses on humanitarian assistance and international development. Plan International has been operating in Rwanda since 2007 to change gender and social norms as well as policies that hold children back from reaching their potential. According to Sharon Kichoncho, the director of Plan International Rwanda in the Nyaruguru district, some of today's issues that impede the development of girls include property abuse, deprivation of the right to an education, and teenage pregnancies. A recent study conducted by the government of Rwanda in collaboration with UNICEF finds that over 50% of children in Rwanda are victims of sexual, physical, or emotional violence. Kigali, Rwanda, violence against children is a fundamental violation of their rights. According to the study, in Rwanda, 5 in 10 girls and 6 in 10 boys experience at least one form of violence, sexual, physical, or emotional, before the age of 18. Children are most often abused by those they know, parents, neighbors, teachers, or friends. The government of Rwanda is committed to protecting children and youth from violence, exploitation, abuse, and neglect. When children are victims of violence, the effects can extend beyond physical scars. In addition to serious injuries, children who are victims of violence are also likely to miss or abandon school or experience psychological distress. In some cases, these distresses can even lead to thoughts of suicide. Unfortunately, instances of violence are usually not reported. About 40% of girls and 60% of boys did not recount their experiences to anyone, even if they knew where to seek help. Many children did not report violence because they thought it was not a problem or that it was their fault. It is in regard that Plan International says they are going to advocate for children's rights in Rwanda by working in strategic partnerships, coalitions, and networks with like-minded organizations. Mans Prince, Radio Imanzi. Plan International is...
Thank you, Manzi Prince. Now, pyrethrum farmers in Nyabihu district, Kabatwa sector, have expressed concern that pyrethrum prices have been the same and low for the past 5 years. They have asked the authorities for advocacy so that the prices can be increased to a price that is fair. According to the executive secretary of the Kabatwa sector, they are aware of the problem, but the prices are set by the National Agriculture Export Development Board. However, they have been advocating and are awaiting the outcome. The flowering crop grows mainly in the northern province. The leading districts that produce it from across the nation include Nyabihu, Musanze, Rubavu, and Burera. About 10,000 family growers in the country have adopted pyrethrum and have joined cooperative societies.
Urea fertilizer is an organic compound manufactured from ammonia at a fertilizer plant. It is a source of nitrogen, an essential nutrient crucial for crop growth and development. The move is to be made possible thanks to the allocation. Urea
Some items of international news on Radio Imanzi.
Welcome back. Please excuse us for that technical issue. Now continuing with international news. Uganda's central bank has raised its benchmark policy rate by 1% to 8.5%. This was occasioned by the surging inflation levels and increased pressure exerted by the US dollar against the local currency as a result of spikes in interest rates registered by developed economies. This development follows a sudden monetary policy committee meeting held on Tuesday on the back of latest inflation data, signs of vulnerability exhibited by the local currency against the US dollar, and raging uncertainty over global supply chain shocks caused by the ongoing Russia-Ukraine military conflict. Sudan's military leader, Lieutenant General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and Ethiopia's Prime Minister, Dr. Abiy Ahmed, have reached consensus for peaceful resolution to disagreements. This came as the leaders met for the first time since the two countries' tiff over outstanding issues began a few weeks ago. The two leaders met in Nairobi during the 39th Heads of State Summit for IGAD members, in which only 4 heads of state out of the 8 member states were represented in person. Other leaders in attendance were Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta and Djibouti's Ismail Omar Guelleh. Algeria marked 60 years of independence from France with a huge military parade, its first in decades, and a pardon of 14,000 prisoners. During the celebrations, Algerian flags flew from buildings across the country and patriotic songs rang out from loudspeakers. Warplanes whizzed overhead just as armored vehicles rolled through central Algiers during the parade. The country won its independence following a grueling 8-year war, which ended with the signing in March 1962 of the Avian Accords. About 600 inmates have escaped in a jailbreak in Abuja, Nigeria's capital city, an attack that officials have blamed on Islamic extremist rebels. Authorities have said that over 300 escapees have either been recaptured or turned themselves in at police stations. Nigeria's Ministry of Interior said explosions and gunfire were heard at about 10 p.m. in the Kuje area when the attackers arrived and forced their way into the prison through a hole created by the blast. The Abuja jailbreak occurred around the same time that gunmen launched a daring attack on an advanced security convoy preparing for the visit of Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari in the northwest Katsina state. A presidential spokesperson said those attackers opened fire on the convoy from ambush positions but were repelled by the military.
Urea fertilizer is an organic
Economic news is a regular feature on Radio Imanzi. Rwanda in this fiscal year is set to carry out a feasibility study for domestic urea production from Lake Kivu methane gas as the country attempts to cut costs associated with importing this fertilizer whose prices have been on the rise. Manzi Prince with more.
Urea fertilizer is an organic compound manufactured from ammonia at a fertilizer plant. It is a source of nitrogen, an essential nutrient crucial for crop growth and development. The move is to be made possible thanks to the allocation of 100 million Rwandan francs under the national budget approved by Parliament. The funds will enable a feasibility study for urea fertilizer production in the country. MP Omar Munyaneza, chairperson of the Committee on National Budget and Patrimony, said that the development is in line with helping Rwanda reach a self-sufficiency level in fertilizer manufacturing. Charles Buchagu, the Deputy Director General in charge of Agriculture Development at the Rwanda Agriculture and Animal Resources Development, RAB, said the drastically increasing fertilizer prices occasioned by the COVID-19 impact and the Russia-Ukraine war spillover effect are a challenge. it is to note that Russia has been a major supplier of fertilizers and natural gas to the global market, and that natural gas is a key ingredient in fertilizer production. He pointed out that the study was informed by this issue and that its findings will show the cost of producing urea in the country and whether it is cheaper to do so than importing this crop nutrient. Buchagu indicated that urea is an important fertilizer, especially for cereals, as it helps a crop to have a strong stem and good grain growth through nitrogen provision and photosynthesis for energy. According to data from RAB, Rwanda needs about 84,308 tons of fertilizers annually, while it spends 43 billion Rwandan francs on their imports. They include 23,376 tons of urea, 32,371 tons of DAP, 20,507 tons of NPK, and 8,054 tons of fertilizer blends. According to Gasmith, a company that is implementing the project that seeks to process methane gas into compressed natural gas, Rwanda has also been exploring the use of Kivu gas for cooking, and it is expected that cooking gas produced from this lake could start being used by the end of this year. Mans Prince, Radio Imanzi.
Now the Rwanda Stock Exchange Market Report. Today's trading session recorded a total turnover of 321,096,590 Rwandan francs worth of bonds traded in 7 deals on the fixed income market and 265,000 Rwandan francs from 1,000 shares traded in 1 deal on the equities market. Bank of Kigali closed the counter at 265 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 265,000 Rwandan francs from 1,000 shares traded in 1 deal. The equities counters closed with I&M Bank at 43 Rwandan francs, Bralirwa at 160 Rwandan francs, Bank of Kigali at 265 Rwandan francs, M10 Rwanda at 177 Rwandan francs, Simirwa at 120 Rwandan francs, Equity Bank at 440 Rwandan francs, Kenya Commercial Bank at 370 Rwandan francs, National Media Group at 1,200 Rwandan francs, Uchumi Supermarket at 104 Rwandan francs, and RH Buffalo closed the counter at 526 Rwandan francs as the market closed. Now the currency market review. Burundian franc buying price was 0.49 and the selling price was 0.5. Kenyan shilling buying price was 8.5 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 8.7. Tanzanian shilling buying price was 0.43 and the selling price was 0.44. Ugandan shilling buying price was 0.272 and the selling price was 0.277. The US dollar buying price was 1,014 and the selling price was 1,034. The British pound buying price was 1,210 and the selling price was 1,234. The euro buying price was 1,040 and the selling price was 1,060 Rwandan francs. With that, we come to the end of tonight's edition.